All right, let's talk a little bit about Formsort conversion tracking. So here we have a demo website and we have Formsort embedded. And the way we have embedded it is we have selected this embed thing. We have gone for an inline embed. We have our CSS selector, and we have just followed the Formsort instructions of adding this to our head tag, adding the script. Well, actually adding this CSS selector. Well, actually I would call this HTML placeholder instead of a CSS selector. But either way, we have added this, and then we have fired the script. So in our demo website, our embed looks like this. We have our CSS/HTML thing here, and then we have a script, and that's going to turn into this widget. So I'm going to kind of explain the principles of conversion tracking, and you can decide if you want to tackle it yourself, writing the code necessary to do that, or if you would like to get in touch with me and get the conversion tracking for your Formsort done by a professional. All right, so if we take a look at the source code here and we inspect what is actually going on here, we can see that this embed has turned from the HTML, CSS, I'm going to call it an HTML thing, into an iFrame. Well, actually, the iFrame has been added inside the Formsort placeholder. So yeah, if you remember, we added the placeholder, but then the JavaScript adds this iFrame within it. So iFrames are difficult to track. Conversion tracking is difficult for them because iFrame is essentially another website. So let's see if I can demonstrate this in a way that will hopefully make sense. All right, so here it looks like we have a website where we have the form inside our website. But what is actually happening is that this is a different website. So whenever my mouse goes inside the form, it's entering another website entirely. So it's almost like, you can think of it like this. It's like we have another website, we have our website, and then we have the Formsort. So whenever the mouse goes here, it's pretty much the same as if it was in another browser tab like this. So obviously this website, our website, cannot really know what happens in another website. So because of this, if you're using Google Tag Manager and you want to track the conversions, you may think maybe I can just use a form submission trigger. And the idea, it's not a bad idea, but it's not going to work because the form submission is only going to work on forms inside your website, but because this is not on your website, it is not going to work. So what do we need? We need a custom JavaScript code that is going to listen for messages coming through the Formsort iframe. So here in Google Tag Manager, I have my Formsort conversion tracking set up, and I have added a custom HTML tag with a Formsort listener. So here we have a custom JavaScript that's going to track the steps and track the final conversion of Formsort. So let's take this for a test drive. So I'm going to hit the preview button in Google Tag Manager, and I'm going to connect. And here, let's start over. And here, I'm going to go to Tag Assistant. I'm going to clean out the Google Tag Assistant and then start clicking the button. So here you can see that there are currently no tags and no triggers fired. So I'm going to click Next. And here we can see that the Formsort step completed was just triggered. And if we take a look at the variables, we can see that the Formsort step ID was 0. It was the first one. So I'm going to continue. Now we got another one. And we are tracking the step number 1. Well, it starts from 0, which is counterintuitive, but that's how JavaScript arrays work and coding works. So it's very common. But yeah, now we are in the kind of second step, and we can continue through the steps. We can get the step 2, which is actually step 3, and the step 3, which is actually step 4. I may change this to be a normal number instead of starting from 0 in a new version. All right. So then when we hear the final confirmation, I'm just going to use like a random test email address. We're going to get another event. And this main form finalized event is something we can use to track our conversion tags. So click next. Thanks for filling out the form. In Google Tag Assistant, we can see Formsort _flow finalized. And this we can use to trigger our conversion tags like Google Ads, Formsort, Form Submit, for example, or any others. Now, these step completions are still useful. You can use them as pre-conversions or micro-conversions. You can track the funnel drop-off rates in Google Ads, Google Analytics, or Meta. And depending on your monthly numbers, how many conversions you're getting, it may make sense to actually optimize your ads for something like step 4 or step 6 instead of the final one. But these will depend on what sort of numbers you're getting from your ad campaigns. If you have like 30 conversions per month, that's usually enough to train the Google Ads and the Meta or Facebook ads, pixels, and AI algorithms to optimize your ads and automatic bidding. All right, so here are the principles. You embed the form inside your website. You add custom JavaScript listener into your website or into Google Tag Manager inside your website. It's going to listen to the messages, and the messages are going to populate the data layer. So data layer is kind of the main thing in Google Tag Manager where we just add all these data. So here you can see the Formsort flow steps, and then the completion, the flow finalized, and the Formsort flow finalized in Google Tag Manager is going to track, it's going to fire our custom event trigger, which is the Formsort _flow finalized event. And that custom trigger is then going to be used to fire our conversion tracking tags, like you can see here. Now, usually we also want something called enhanced conversion tracking. That is a more accurate conversion tracking setup, and it's actually quite important. Now, some forms provide the data required to do enhanced conversion tracking, and I should mention advanced matching, which is the Meta Facebook equivalent of enhanced conversion tracking. So some tools like, let's say, Tally Forms or JotForm, for example. Tally is a good example. Tally and, let's say, HubSpot or Paperform. These provide the necessary information for us to do enhanced conversion tracking and advanced matching, which make your conversion tracking more accurate. Basically, adding enhanced conversion tracking and advanced matching just track more conversions, which leads to like a positive feedback loop of tracking more conversions, getting more optimized ads, more optimized bidding, and thus getting more conversions, and so on and so on. But yes, unfortunately, the Formsort does not provide the form field values via these JavaScript messages, like the flow finalized, unlike some other tools. So for Formsort, we would need to do API client-server hybrid method for enhanced conversion tracking. I'm actually going to see if make.com has Formsort available. So Formsort, yeah, I don't see that. So maybe Zapier. Okay, so Formsort, Zapier. So perhaps Zapier could be used. Now, this is a really complicated setup because it would require that we would pre-populate hidden fields, most likely in Formsort. Well, perhaps we can do without them. I'll have to think about this a little bit. Depends on how accurate conversion tracking setup we need. All right, either way, I am Petri or Phoenix, based in Helsinki, a conversion tracking specialist. And yeah, if you need a pro to handle your Formsort conversion tracking, then get in touch. And if you want to do it yourself, maybe try some AI tools or hire, someone to write the listener for you. Or perhaps in the future, I will consider just selling these Google Tag Manager setup in a way where you could just import the Google Tag Manager in one click and get this set up and get the Formsort conversion tracking working. I may do that. We'll see what is the best method. Either way, hopefully this video was helpful, and yeah, looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.